In the day's other headlines, a community in northern Idaho is in shock after 2 firefighters were shot dead after responding to a mountain blaze. A third wounded firefighter is in the hospital, stable, but in the words of a local official, fighting for his life. The alleged gunman, identified as 20-year-old Wes Raleigh, is dead. Authorities believe he killed himself. But as Stephanie Sy reports, officials are still searching for a motive.
Smoke and then gunfire in northern Idaho.
This was a total ambush. These firefighters did not have a chance.
Just after 2 p.m. local time on Sunday, firefighters responded to a brush fire in the mountains. When they arrived on the scene, they came under heavy fire, a gunman hiding in rugged terrain, shooting at them with a high-powered rifle. They hid behind fire engines.
They're shot. Everybody's shot up here. Law enforcement, code 3 now up here.
We do believe that the suspect started the fire, and we do believe that it was an ambush and it was intentional.
2 firefighters were dead on arrival at the hospital. Idaho Governor Brad Little called it a heinous direct assault on brave firefighters. The crime unfolded on Canfield Mountain, just outside of the popular vacation town Coeur d'Alene, near the Idaho-Washington border. Some 300 law enforcement officers and first responders arrived at the scene. The shootout lasted several hours. By late Sunday, authorities lifted a shelter-in-place order. The body of the alleged gunman had been found using his cell phone data. He was dead with a firearm beside him. They believe he acted alone. Authorities today updated the public on the investigation.
We've had interactions with him, but we don't find a criminal record with him. We will certainly find out, or if there's any evidence to believe that there was a motive, we will do that. And I think an inventory of the vehicle would be a good place to start.
In Washington, D.C., both of Idaho's senators mourned the attack from the Senate floor.
I ask my colleagues to join me in sending your prayers for that firefighter's full recovery, for the deceased victims, for their families, and for the entire North Idaho community grieving this heinous act.
This evil attack on the people who dedicate their lives to protecting and serving our communities is despicable.
Back in Idaho, firefighters from agencies around the region staged a miles-long highway procession of emergency vehicles to honor the fallen. For the PBS News Hour, I'm Stephanie Sy.
Also today, the Trump administration says Harvard violated civil rights law by failing to protect Jewish and Israeli students from anti-Semitic harassment on campus. It's threatening to cut off all federal funding if the school doesn't take action. In a letter to school officials, a federal task force wrote that, quote, Harvard has been in some cases deliberately indifferent and in others a willful participant in anti-Semitic harassment. The university fired back, saying it, quote, has taken substantive, proactive steps to address anti-Semitism. The White House said today it's negotiating with Harvard behind closed doors to reach a deal after months of increasing legal pressure on the school. President Trump signed an executive order today that effectively dismantles decades of U.S. sanctions on Syria. The action comes after Trump told the country's interim leader in May that he would do so. It's part of a broader Trump administration push towards normalizing relations. And it includes a commitment by the U.S. to help rebuild the nation after more than a decade of civil war. But the U.S. will retain sanctions on Syria's ousted former president, Bashar al-Assad, among others. An 82-year-old woman who was injured in an anti-Semitic attack in Boulder, Colorado earlier this month has now died. Karen Diamond was part of a peaceful group of demonstrators who gathered weekly in support of Israeli hostages in Gaza. Mohammed Sabri Soliman, the accused attacker, yelled "Free Palestine" as he threw Molotov cocktails at the group. He's been charged on 12 counts of a federal hate crime to which he's pleaded not guilty. The U.S. Supreme Court will hear a challenge to long-standing limits on how much political parties can spend in federal elections when it reconvenes in the fall. The caps were put in place in 1974 following the Watergate scandal. They restrict the amount that party committees can spend in coordination with campaigns on things like advertising. The case stems from a challenge in 2022 from then-Senator J.D. Vance, who said the caps violate free speech protections. Supporters say the law prevents large donors from skirting limits on direct funding to individual candidates. Also today, the court agreed to hear a copyright dispute between Cox Communications and a group of record labels who say the company should be liable for illegal music downloads by its customers. A jury had initially found Cox liable for more than $1 billion, though that judgment was later thrown out. Separately, the court declined to hear a First Amendment challenge from a teacher in Massachusetts who says she was improperly terminated for social media posts she made prior to her employment. Officials say Carrie McRae was fired in 2021 for making and reposting anti-transgender TikTok content. Environmental Protection Agency staff published a declaration of dissent today, saying the Trump administration's policies undermine the EPA's mission. It follows a similar move by workers at the National Institutes of Health earlier this month. In particular, staff disagree with the, quote, focus on harmful deregulation, mischaracterization of previous EPA actions, and disregard for scientific expertise. More than 170 employees signed their names. Others did so anonymously, as did outside experts, including 20 Nobel laureates. In response, EPA leadership released a statement defending its work, saying the decisions are made based on briefings by its own staff. A heat wave is pushing temperatures into the triple digits across large parts of southern Europe.
I came out and put this brolly up so it will allow me to stand in the sun, because otherwise I'll melt.
Along the River Seine in Paris, people huddled around water misters and found shade wherever and however they could. In Rome, some tourists soaked washcloths in fountains to cool themselves off. While in Sevilla, Spain, the temperature hit 45 degrees Celsius, or about 113 degrees Fahrenheit. The heat even reached as far north as the UK, bringing record temperatures to day one of Wimbledon. Still, spectators gathered in droves to watch the action get underway, including this visitor from Scotland.
Yeah, well, I'm struggling because I'm from Inverness, so it never gets this warm up north. So it's about 20 degrees warmer than I'm used to, and I'm sunburnt all over.
And to the east in Turkey, the hot, dry conditions have fueled wildfires that destroyed homes and forced more than 50,000 people to evacuate from 5 different regions. Back in this country, President Trump is dropping his legal case against Iowa pollster Ann Seltzer. In a filing today, Trump's team officially gave notice of the dismissal, quote, without prejudice. Trump sued Seltzer in December, along with the Des Moines Register and its parent company, Gannett, saying Seltzer's poll released shortly before last November's vote amounted to election interference. The poll showed then Vice President Kamala Harris with a 3-point lead in Iowa. Trump ended up winning the state 56% to 43%. The White House confirmed today that trade talks with Canada are back on. That's after Prime Minister Mark Carney called off his planned digital services tax on U.S. tech firms. The tax was set to take effect today and would have hit companies like Amazon and Google with a 3% levy on revenue from Canadian users. On Friday, President Trump said he was suspending talks over what he called, quote, a direct and blatant attack on our country. He'd also threatened Canada with higher tariffs. The restarting of talks between the U.S. and Canada helped fuel Wall Street to new record highs. The Dow Jones Industrial Average added 275 points on the day. The Nasdaq rose nearly 100 points to close at a new all-time high. The S&P 500 also ended the trading month in record territory. And the WNBA is expanding to 3 more cities over the next 5 years. Cleveland will join in 2028, Detroit the year after, and Philadelphia the year after that. That's assuming they all get board approval. All 3 teams paid a $250 million expansion fee, or about 5 times as much as the last team to join the league. New teams in Toronto and Portland are already set to start playing next year, meaning there will be 18 teams by the year 2030. WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert said the expansion is a, quote, powerful reflection of our league's extraordinary momentum. Still to come on the News Hour, how the Senate's version of the massive budget bill could affect Medicaid. Tamara Keith and Amy Walter break down all the political shifts on Capitol Hill. And an organization that's helping young people overcome their differences by sharing stories.
This is the PBS News Hour from the David M. Rubenstein Studio at WETA in Washington, and in the West from the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism at Arizona State University.